Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux. We're going to head on out to Keeneland for a race preview for Sunday. I believe this is the final day of 8 straight days of racing over at Keeneland, so they deserve a break on Monday and Tuesday, Ashley, after the marathon they've just had. The 5.5 furlong turf sprint Giants Causeway, I think, is led by Future Is Now, who just got really, really good last year. She's won 7 of her 14. She won back-to-back races to finish up the year last year, and she's a multiple graded stakes winner.
I think the one thing is the layoff is probably the concern for her. She never
Yep.
had a break, go down the page. But with that said, I think she deserved one to kind of debut in the summer of 2023 and carry on until the fall of 2024. The way that she did, it's a lengthy campaign, but you mentioned it. I mean, off that last out effort, she's probably still the one to beat in here. I don't know if I'd take 9 to 5.
Take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, see how they think this race shapes up. Future Is Now has speed, but she can sit a little bit. So I think she's probably best sitting just off horses. I wouldn't be shocked if she lets one or two go, like BG Warrior, even Accomplished Girl or Tupi. They've shown speed. So there are a couple in here I could see going and kind of pushing the pace here, Ashley.
Yeah, and I even think Justicare on the outside may have to go a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I think this is probably right in terms of where she's situated, but she comes out of some fast sprints at Gulfstream, and we know the turf course there is very, very fast.
So let's meet the field for the Giants Causeway. Kick things off with the number 1 BG Warrior, who's going to go back to turf after 4 straight synthetic races at Turfway. She's 0 for her last 8. She did finish in this race 5th last year, when in this race was beaten 3 1/4 lengths, and she's only 1 for 6 overall on turf. Can you make a case for her?
Little bit of a tough sell. I do think the cutback in some ways helps her, but I wish it was cut back on, say, the Tapeta at Turfway. I just think her form has really been her best when she's been there. And you do know she is crossing in another spot. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her scratch.
Tupi was the one horse who I wasn't sure exactly what to do with, Ashley. I was playing a pick 4 or pick 5. She's on the ticket for me. I didn't have her in top 4 selections because I'm a little bit worried about her trip, but she certainly could win a race like this with one of her better efforts. I know she loves the downhill at Santa Anita because she's won the last couple times over there, and she has speed, but she can sit off a little bit. Really top-notch connections here for Motion and Pratt as well.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at that performance last time out at Santa Anita. You mentioned on the downhill. She does love the downhill, but thought it was a good performance from her. We hadn't seen her since early November. She had a little bit of time off just to get going again, and she came back with, for her, a career best figure. Now she's had more time off, to regroup, but I don't know. I don't think she needs the lead. I'd actually
Yep.
prefer her to maybe just sit a little bit early, especially at the 5.5 furlong distance. I think others will just be naturally quicker than her.
Has some versatility to her. So we see her winning there at Santa Anita. Leith Spirit is the 3. She's in really nice form right now, and she might be better than last time we saw her on the turf. She does have wins from 5 furlongs all the way to 6.5, and she beat 2 of today's rivals in that most recent start. She doesn't have a whole lot of early speed, though. That kind of hurts her, and she needs a little pace. I also just think this is a tougher group than what she's been facing, so she's going to need to step up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the last part is the most important thing. It's just a tougher spot, but her form, she has gotten better with just about every single start when you watch that
Yep.
progression. And wonder if she can get the right trip in here. She is going to cut back, though. You mentioned 6.5 have been those races at Turfway. 5.5 might be a little tricky for her, but she does have a nice win sprinting at 5 ace on the grass.
Future Is Now is probably the one they'll all have to beat. But as Ashley pointed out when we were previewing at the very beginning, she hasn't raced since October. So that's a major factor in here for a horse who's coming off a serious layoff. But she has speed. She can sit close throughout. She beat some nice horses last year, like Roses for Deborah, who's a multiple graded stakes place horse.
Mhm.
Star Guest and Star of Mystery were both really nice Appleby runners that Future Is Now was able to outfinish last year. So I think kind of a measuring stick for this race, Ashley. Probably not a fun horse to bet on top off the layoff at a short price, but a horse who I think will be in the mix late in this race.
Absolutely. I think in terms of consistency in her figures, she is the most consistent, kind of having those mid to higher 90s. In terms of pace projection, I could see her sitting early. We'll see how sharp she is, especially off the freshening. But I mentioned it. The barn does fine off the layoff, so I'm not really concerned about it. I think if you're going to try to, as we say, poke holes in her case, that's going to be the case, right? Oh, she's going to need a race. But I don't even know, based on the kind of competition that she's carrying, the fact that she's finished in front of a couple of in here, does she really even, need to be cranked to 100%?
Next one up, Ashley, is Awesome Treat, who's a multiple stakes winner, but seems a little bit better on the synthetic. This is also what I say to my Chihuahua Ellie when I need her to calm down a little bit. We got an Awesome Treat for you, and then she's like jumping around, bouncing around. I couldn't build the case for Awesome Treat to win this race, though.
No, I have concerns about her winning at this level. I think if this was just an allowance race, maybe there's a case to be made, but just deeper waters than she's faced, similar to the three in here. Good recent form, participated in some of those same races, and has been rolling late. But I think if you have to compare her to the three is the better of the two.
Dance Macabre is the next one up, and I think she's a major player, but I wish she had a race since last year in August. That's the last time we've seen her. The barn, Christophe Clement, who takes over the training, he can certainly get horses ready to fire off the long layoff. And Dance Macabre is actually outfinished Future Is Now. She's a grade 3 winner, capable from 5.5 to a mile, probably a little better going longer. And heck, she's been in the money in 11 of 12, Ashley. She just doesn't do a whole lot wrong.
I think 5.5 or 6 is actually what she prefers. Obviously, last time out didn't handle 6.5, but it's Kentucky Downs. Draw a line through that. No, she's run well there in the past, but it's a weird turf course, and I don't necessarily trust the Kentucky Downs form. So we'll see what she can do. You mentioned the long layoff. I do think it's a little bit of a concern, but you'll get good value on her, I think, because of that. And the barn always scares me with these types. They can get these horses in for their first start and ready to roll.
Pandora's Gift is a horse who was behind Future Is Now, and I can understand wanting to make a case for Pandora's Gift. The problem is she also has that same sort of layoff. So if she had a race recently, I could maybe use that as a reason to play her. But is she going to be sharper and better now off the same layoff as Future Is Now? I wasn't sure. I kind of had her as more of an underneath. What do you think about her?
I think she's an underneath player. She went off at huge price in the Franklin. She was 40-1, and it's worth noting she was disqualified from purse money. So, prior to that, I thought her second in the Presque Isle Downs, the Masters there behind Roses for Deborah, was good, especially for a first stateside race. And the fact that in between those races, look, less than a month, we see so many horses come over from Europe and they just sit on the shelf for 3, 4, 5 months and then they race. So, curious to see what she can do. Now she's been a little bit more acquainted with the U.S. and now in a new barn.
Has to be very live when you have Irad taking the call. Accomplished Girl is really, really quick. She feels like one of the major speeds in this race, Ashley. I just don't think her turf form is quite up to par recently. Her last 3 or 4 turf races just feel like they're a cut below. And when you're comparing Beyer speed figures to some of the top horses like Future Is Now.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point to bring up her quickness because you might look at the races at the fairgrounds and go, I don't know how quick they are. But don't forget, there's a lot of times at the fairgrounds that rail is far out. So
Yep.
you'd have to look into that a little bit closer. She has early foot. Don't think she necessarily needs the lead. I'm just a little concerned about this level of competition for her.
Get Twisted is stakes placed, but I have to see one from her at this level, Ashley, and just kind of see where she fits with a group like this. Can you build a case for her?
I thought about making her my 4th pick in here. I know you'd have to really make your case and try to get there. Her form has gotten better with each of her starts. If there's pace in front of her, she can rally late. I believe she had the LP flag attached to her with the time form US pace projections, but this is a different ball game, right? Just a different level of competition. She would need to take another huge step forward. But if anyone wanted to use her in a superfecta in the bottom, I would not talk them off of it. She could get a very minor piece in here.
She should be passing at least half the field in here with her running style too. And that's a great point because she's going to sit back. She's going to make one late run. If they go fast enough, look for her late because she will come running. Rounding out the field is Just a Care. I thought she's a little interesting, Ashley, just because of the versatility. I'm worried about the post being out wide, but she's shown us that she can go to the front or sit close and she can come from off the pace if need be. She lost to a horse named Epona's Hope, who's really, really fast and has won 3 in a row. So I think she has some options to work out a trip in here. I think class-wise, she's not too far behind a horse like Future Is Now. So I made a case for her on top. What do you think about the 10 rounding at the field, Just to Care?
She's broken my heart a couple times now. I guess good for her that Epona's Hope isn't in here, but obviously she is taking a huge step up in class as well when you have to face Future Is Now and a couple of others in here. Maybe, as you talked about, her versatility is going to come in handy, especially with the outside draw. Johnny V aboard. Big fan of Brian Lynch. I feel like he's having a very good year so far. I just don't know if I'd want 9-2 on her. I think I'd demand a little bit more value, but we'll see. I have a feeling that it's going to be an interestingly bet race, so maybe she will offer that come post time.
as we move to selections. Almost felt like, as I looked at your selections, I kind of felt the same way about Tupi as almost you felt about Just a Care. Like I wasn't sure what to do with them. Put Just a Care on top. The other horses we have in similar spots.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point about Tupi. Is it the downhill? Now having to come over here and do something a little bit different, is that going to affect her? I just think she might sit the trip, and it's kind of similar to Just a Care. I think you think she's going to sit the trip as well,
Yep.
and we'll see who does. But curious to see the prices on them. Tupi 7-2, Just a Care not too far off of that at 9-2 on the morning line.
However you play, I'm on Sunday at Keeneland. We wish you the best of luck.